Today, we're going to talk about a film that, despite being released in 1999, has continued to be discussed and has never lost its popularity over the years. Yes, we're talking about Fight Club. Even today, as you scroll through social media, it's nearly impossible not to come across something Tyler Durden has said. So let's break the first rule of Fight Club together. As we enter the world of Fight Club, a new universe is bestowed upon us. We can feel the inner voice and perspective of the protagonist. The meaning of his surroundings begins to take shape in our minds, and we almost become part of the film as the first-person narrator. Yet despite witnessing the character's thoughts and observations, we never learn his name. When I first watched the film, this didn't bother me. In fact, I didn't even notice. Knowing someone's thoughts made their name seem unimportant. Now, however, I believe the reason the narrator doesn't have a specific name is because he represents us. The first turning point for this character's transformation is his 6-month struggle with insomnia. Our protagonist, who has awakened to the absurdities of the system, can no longer sleep and is then plunged into a deep sense of numbness and meaninglessness. His life is a cycle of nothing significant, where everything leaves a false impression. The film portrays the miserable lives we lead, working unsatisfying jobs for large corporations created by the modern capitalist system, unable to live richly enough to savor anything. Like our narrator, we too are trapped in a culture of repetitive, shallow living. Disposable sugars, disposable shampoos, or disposable friendships. All values have been emptied. In one of these disposable lives, during a business trip, our narrator meets someone who will change the course of his life. Tyler Durden. Tyler appears to be the opposite of our narrator: intelligent, handsome, skilled, charismatic, and fearless. But in reality, he represents the narrator's ideal self. Then, the second turning point occurs. The narrator's apartment catches fire and burns down. When he loses his home in the fire, he feels as though he has lost everything. He had tried to fill all the dissatisfaction in his life with his possessions, and when those objects are gone, everything in his life seems to vanish with them. It's as if his life, which was so close to being complete, has been turned upside down. He shares this with whom? Of course, Tyler. Yes, we're consumers. We are byproducts of a lifestyle obsession. Murder, crime, poverty. These things don't concern me. What matters to me are celebrity magazines, television with 500 channels, whose name is on my underwear, Rogaine, Viagra, Olestra. These lines from Tyler are the first droplets of water splashing on Jack's face. In a time when consumerism knows no bounds, the film uses a lot of brand names. The Starbucks cups visible in almost every scene make sure we all agree on the main idea. We're approaching the third turning point in the story, the event that will change everything. But first, let's examine the relationship between Tyler and the narrator. Both are aware of the shallow life they lead, but Tyler is the one who takes action, while the narrator floats aimlessly in meaninglessness, scared by the context. Although he is angry about everything that's happening, he consistently displays apathy. The film evolves into something completely different as these two characters take action together. This is when they fight for the first time. But why fight? Because Tyler Durden believes that they can only reclaim their lost masculinity this way, through the most primal activity we've engaged in since our existence: fighting. Although these fights do not bring about transformations between them, they provide adrenaline and a cathartic relief in their otherwise dull lives. Tyler Durden's speeches in the club show that his goal is not so much to transform the men, but to confront them with the tragic reality of their lives. Nietzsche noticed the spiritual problems of modern man a long time ago. In the 19th century, as he began to question religious values in Western civilization, he observed that Christians around him were living in contradiction to what they believed. Nietzsche wondered how a world full of people following his proposed concepts of brotherhood, kindness, and peace could be so warlike and murderous. If so many people were believers, who was committing all the sins? It didn't matter. The faithful had broken the very rules of the religion they professed to follow before anyone else. After this, Nietzsche declared, "God is dead," indicating that religion had lost its influence on societies after the Enlightenment. So, if a person rejects religious values, by what values should they live? This is where the concept of the Übermensch, or Superman, comes into play. The Übermensch is someone who lives according to the values they create for themselves, rather than those imposed by any religion, ideology, or other person. Tyler Durden fits this mold perfectly. He declares his own ideas as sacred and shows the audacity to destroy any value in pursuit of realizing his own. He not only leads himself, but also has the ability to lead others down the path he has paved. Another similarity between Tyler Durden and the Übermensch is their shared sympathy for suffering. Nietzsche stated that an Übermensch should always embrace pain. According to Nietzsche, suffering is not something to be avoided. On the contrary, it is an experience that should be fully lived. He even suggested that a person's capacity can be measured by their tolerance for suffering. Oddly, Nietzsche's view of suffering bears some resemblance to the attitude towards suffering in Christianity, which he criticized. In Christianity, suffering is a path to purification and liberation from sin, while for Nietzsche, suffering is a way to reach one's potential and become an Übermensch. Both argue that suffering plays a crucial role in human development. Tyler Durden's attitude towards suffering also mirrors the concept of the Übermensch. Not only does he engage in activities where physical pain is at its maximum, but in one scene, while being beaten, he seems to almost take pleasure in the pain. Moreover, what he says when he pours a burning chemical onto the narrator's hand could be straight out of one of Nietzsche's books. In the second half of the film, we confront the dark side of both Tyler Durden and the Übermensch concept. As more people join Fight Club, and Tyler builds a kind of culture around it, he starts to launch attacks against the capitalist system he deems the enemy. He sabotages politicians, blows up chain stores, and, in short, creates chaos. However, the new system he is building begins to resemble the capitalism he despises. While he criticizes capitalism for turning people into robots, the people in the system he creates also become increasingly robotic. These people, who mechanically follow Tyler Durden's orders and begin to resemble each other more and more, may be more masculine than they were in their previous lives, but they are still slaves. Tyler Durden takes things so far that he starts opening branches of his chaotic activities, just like a capitalist. The system Tyler Durden is building may not be capitalist, but it is fascist. Throughout history, many fascist dictators, in their quest to destroy systems they found wrong, acted so ruthlessly that they ended up creating another version of the very system they hated. They believed that their cause would make the world a better place. Yet, in the end, they made the world worse than before. The concept of the Übermensch, which holds that the end justifies the means by disregarding values like religion, morality, and conscience in the pursuit of realizing its own values, can sometimes lead to very dangerous outcomes. Nietzsche, aware of the dark side of this concept, said, "He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster. And if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back into you." If this exploration of Fight Club has sparked your interest, I invite you to delve deeper into our channel. We have more content that dives into the heart of cinema, exploring the films that shape our culture and our consciousness. Subscribe to stay tuned for more thought-provoking analyses, and don't forget to like and share if you found this discussion meaningful. Remember, the first rule of Fight Club may be not to talk about it, but sometimes breaking the rules is the only way to truly understand them.